As I put one story to bed yesterday, another one from about this time last year decides to rear its ugly, wrinkled head once again, and it involves Amber Heard and Ellen Barkin, one of the star defense witnesses who really offered nothing in the way of her testimony towards Johnny Depp being a terrible guy. Oh, he was so controlling and mean, and he threw something in a kitchen, not really towards anybody, but he definitely did it once, and yeah, he was just kind of using me as a side piece while he had a main at home. But trust me, I've been through a lot in Hollywood. Whatever, man. You're 68 years old. You're saying that I'm fresh out of hooks to give. It's like, realistically, man, you're fresh out of talent to give. Like, you haven't been relevant since, Al Pacino put you on in Sea of Love, and prior to that, yeah, being used as a load catcher for Johnny Depp back in the cut. Like, outside of that, nobody really cares, okay? Yeah, man, you used to be just a bad bitch way back in the cut, but that's way back in the cut because, not bad there, not bad, not exactly the most flattering of pictures, and Al Pacino's my dog, like, I will watch every shitty Al Pacino film. I've probably seen most of them. Okay, but there she is. What film is that out of? Yeah, Switch. I don't know, man. Got those goofy eyes and it's kind of cute, but the long blonde hair and the banging bod for back in the cut. But Huffington Post isn't going to be using any of that. No, Lord, no, of course not. But she's releasing, or she did this interview with Huffington Post. That's what this is all about anyways. If you want to read through this drivel, feel free. The link will be in the description. It just more or less goes over her sob story as, why didn't I really catch on? And, oh, it's all about the misogyny. And perfect timing on this one, right? Johnny Depp apparently had an art gallery earlier this week, and Huffington Post just magically, and I'm sure very coincidentally, it just went out and put that out about 8 hours right before his art gallery was set to open. Go ahead and put something in there to just drag up your biggest role that you're likely to get at your advanced age. And then also the same time that Harvey Weinstein, who, man, this is so weird because over the past decade, 2 decades at this point in time, every single time you see one of these stories pop up, my believe-a-bitch-meter, it's whenever I hear one of these stories, it just never really pings. Like, outside of maybe my mother, that's about the only person I'm going to believe when it comes to anything. Any woman comes forward with any sort of complaints. Outside of that, you really got to dig deep into this stuff. So I don't know. I hear all of this stuff about Harvey Weinstein. I haven't looked at the evidence. I didn't follow the trial. All I seen that today was the day that he got 16 years in prison off the backs of allegations from the likes of Ellen Barkin and a bunch of other broads that are, pushing 70 and looking like they've been microwaved instead of putting on makeup in the morning. It's one of those situations where I don't want to yell liar, but their previous actions, normally indicative of how they're going to be acting going forward, aren't necessarily conducive to trust off rip. So, do I believe that Harvey Weinstein is guilty? Ooh, that's court of his peers found him guilty, or a jury of his peers found him guilty. Sentenced to 16 years in prison. Take that for what you will. Haven't looked at any of the facts, didn't look at the trial or anything like that. Do I believe that he could be a creep? There's a lot of supporting evidence that's out there, okay? Was he kind of dangling some roles in order for some starlets to play, a fun game of hide the Weinstein? Maybe. Is that rape, though? Man, now we start parsing the weeds, and that's something that we can talk about at a different time. Like I said, once I go over the evidence and stuff like that. But another one of those situations where you take a look at everybody else who's lining up on either side of the argument, and you see a bunch of liars accusing this guy as opposed to really nobody standing up for him because it's not exactly the most popular opinion to take. I've seen this shit play out before, especially with the likes of Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby, those types, and it's like, well, your evidence was kind of scant and it more or less just seemed like a setup. But again, like I said, I don't know, so nothing concrete on that one. All I'm seeing is that Ellen Barkin, whenever she's called on to provide any testimony or opinion, she's just likely to bring up the old misogyny root, her word. Okay, added to this misogynistic scrutiny were some of her experiences on various sets in which Barkin remembered in painful detail. The producer of The Big Easy, she said, recalling her 1986 movie. The director, Jim McBride, was fighting for me for that part, and the producer said in front of me, "She looks like a girl who could give you a disease." Well, hey man, Those girls now, they just kind of have the sticker tattoos everywhere, or even just the under titty chandelier. But back in the late 80s, early 90s, that's not an incorrect assumption. Messy hair like that, and then also Hollywood, it's kind of a small place and word does get around, kind of like Ellen. So yeah, man, if you're looking for a certain role, like what's wrong with that? She looks like somebody that could give you a disease. Back in 1986, you could say the exact same thing about Magic Johnson. What makes that is essentially misogynistic. But yeah, and the rest of it, she pulls the whole I'm a Jew card, and it's like, oh my god, really? So you got misogyny, you got ageism, now you got to try to pull racism out of this. It's like, bitch, you're just not that poppin'. You aren't that talented. If anybody wanted to give you a role, they could have gave you a role. You're not special. But there, she actually had something to say. But when they played the video, it turned out she didn't have anything to say. She just, once again, that's the biggest screen that she was likely to ever be on in her final days. So she's still milking this appearance. And the one thing that I want to point out right here, hashtag believe all women, right? We're still living in that time frame. Even though I was hoping and praying, even though it was kind of just this small chance, a very small percentage chance that, you know, people would start to question the whole believe all women narrative. But as we've seen with the likes of Andrew and Tristan Tate right now, that's just clearly not the case. And we really haven't gone all that far. But Barkin, in a reference to her video testimony that she couldn't be asked to show up to provide, so they played an old deposition from back in the cut, Barkin considered it her duty. I have never met Amber Heard in my life. And this was just recently said. So she has never met Amber Heard in her life. But I know what I know about Johnny Depp. He never touched me, but I saw violence. I saw him strangle an assistant director. Did you really? He did throw a wine bottle somewhere. But I didn't feel at that time that testifying was an act of bravery. I felt it's just what you do. So you didn't turn up for it. You just had a video play. Fantastic, wonderful. But I want to focus in on one thing in particular, right? I'd never met Amber Heard before in my life. I just know everything that's terrible about Johnny Depp, and you know, you got to believe the rest of my stuff, even though the first line of that is absolute 100% cap. And once again, shout out to the big homie when it comes to all of the Amber Heard cap. Tug, that umbrella guy, running all this stuff back, providing all the receipts. I'd never met Amber Heard in my life. Also, yeah, we did meet once, maybe twice. Yeah, because as you can see, a couple of different pictures, and she's just trying to say, oh, wow, it was a fashion show, and we were seated next to each other. Yes, we did meet. That was it. No convo, just a nice hello. Meet you, hello. I did not remember. Even though you're in very much different clothing, two different occasions, and the facial structure of Amber Heard and the roots would indicate that those were two different occasions. I'm just saying, man. Hashtag believe all women, right? I mean, and the same thing goes. At least it was supposed to be for the nice handoff for one of Johnny Depp's good friends, apparently Marilyn Manson. He was supposed to get retribution on a couple of different Me Too cases that were aiming to really, you know, tank what's left of his career. Listen, when I was growing up, Marilyn Manson, he was popping, you know, he was the Antichrist. He was going to come and corrupt all of the youth. Now it's just the school teachers that were warning you against Marilyn Manson. Weird how that thing develops. But he had a couple of broads line on his name, very obviously, and a couple of girls that he was, you know, dicking around with in his bad girl room or something like that. And it's like, bro, just if you're gonna be a degenerate, you know, keep it on the DL at least. You got an entire sex dungeon at your place, and you don't think that some opportunistic bitch isn't gonna come through and try to put a case on you. I understand that this was way back in the day, but guys like that at that level, you gotta move smarter than that, bro. This here popped off at the beginning of the year, okay? January 4th, as you can see right there, Marilyn Manson Accuser Ashley Morgan Smithline's case dismissed. What was she alleging? What was she alleging? What were we supposed to hashtag believe all women on? And you can see why, you know, Marilyn Manson, you know, fell for that chick. Great eyes, decent looking rack. California judge has tossed out a sexual abuse lawsuit on Tuesday filed by one of Marilyn Manson's accusers after she failed to replace her former legal counsel. Yeah, this was supposed to go forward, but then she fired her lawyer. I think this was the crazy lady who was, I hadn't followed this case very closely because I've seen some detrimental things towards the end of the year that just kind of made it seem like this was never going to go to court. And, well, at least this suit right here isn't going to. Not so much, not too sure about the Evan Rachel Wood stuff, but we'll see. We'll see. So this, maybe some of the facts involved in this case might be brought forward with that lawsuit if and when it ever gets to trial. But Ashley Morgan Smithline, who previously accused the shock rocker of e-parring her and abusing her during their 2-year relationship that was on and off. Okay, so you were just another bang buddy. Like, come on, let's just call it what it is. Was advised to find new representation by December 5th. And then they gave her an additional month. Like, okay. After her former lawyer, J.D. Ellenwanger, really? This lawyer specializes in SA claims and his last name is Elwanger? All right. Motion to withdraw was approved. However, the model failed to find new representation or represent herself, so that her case was thrown out. The lawsuit was dismissed without prejudice, meaning she can refile the same claim at a later time if she wishes to do so. No. Let's get into the specifics on this, because we #believe all women around here. Manson's attorney, Howard King, he sounds very, very accomplished. Well, tells Page 6, we thank and commend Ashley Smithline for dismissing her claims against Brian Warner, Manson's real name, without seeking or receiving anything in return. Ms. Smithline has refused to be manipulated by others who are trying to pursue their own agendas against Mr. Warner. We wish her well and will continue to work to assure that a significant price will be paid by those who have tried to abuse our legal system. Although Elwanger filed a motion to remove himself from the case, Manson's legal team provided a series of texts allegedly sent by Smithline that appears to show she actually tried to get rid of him first back in April of 2022. In a September 1st, 2022 court filing obtained by Page 6, Smithline tells Elwanger that the text provided as an exhibit, I am looking to discharge you. Please let me know when it's done and what needs to happen. Elwanger responds by letting his then client know that she needs new representation and that he believes someone may have hacked her phone. He also states, Ashley, it's not that simple. You have a federal court lawsuit pending. I'm not sure who is writing these text messages, but it doesn't sound like you. We need to speak on the phone, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff as well. So clearly she's erratic. And then what comes out today is about the most despicable thing that I can see. Marilyn Manson's ex-accuser claims Evan Rachel Wood manipulated her into lying. You filed the lawsuit. You filed the federal lawsuit, but now you don't want to take accountability and you just want to foist it on the only other person that's currently suing Manson. All right, then. A serial liar. Guys, I've heard a lot about this lady's background. Don't know any of it for sure, but tell you what I can analyze, the lack of responsibility that a female will take, or filing a knowingly false lawsuit. Like, you could theoretically face perjury charges for going this far, for lying on the man's name in a federal court. And you want to try to skirt responsibility with this? Holy! One of Marilyn Manson's former sexual assault accusers claims in a new legal filing that the shock rocker exes Evan Rachel Wood and others manipulated her into making false EPAR allegations. I succumbed to pressures from Evan Rachel Wood and her associates to make accusations of EPAR and assault against Manson that were not true. But you were willing to go the entire way. You were even willing to get new counsel. You were trying to fire your lawyer instead of withdrawing the lawsuit. All right. I succumbed to pressure were the calls of the 38-year-old model who is Jewish. Really? We got that through line too as well? Previously accused Manson, 54, of forcibly doing things to her while cutting her with a swastika emblazoned knife and shoving his fist in her mouth during sex. Yeah, I went to all of those lengths to just make up those stories, but then now I just want to retract them because why exactly? She conducted a national television interview about her claims on The View. Oh, wow, The View. Who really had a doozy today saying that the people of East Palestine, yeah, you voted for your train disaster. Sorry, what? In 2021 and filed a lawsuit against The Dope Show. Singer. Beautiful People was like the only decent song from Marilyn Manson. Like, I don't like the dude. I like his music. That's what I should say. I don't know about him personally. I just always thought new metal was industrial metal was ass. Oh, same with new metal. Fuck all of it. It's terrible. Case was then dismissed in January after she failed to find new legal counsel, but went on The View. Hell, even gave an interview to People magazine. I survived a monster. Now Smithline claims those public appearances and the lawsuit itself were all a farce. Why are we not? Why is there not a lawsuit against her? Because that's defamation. that's defamation using the courts, but no responsibility and no accountability to be found. Los Angeles native says that in her declaration that either Wood's girlfriend, Ilma Gore, or Ashley Walters, Manson's former assistant who previously sued him, contacted her in 2020. The women allegedly proposed that Smithline participate in group meetings, and others who claim to be victims of Manson, whose real name's Bryant Warner, including Wood. Smithline claims that she asked in the meetings whether she had been whipped, chained, tied up, branded, cut, assaulted while sleeping, beaten, or EPAR'd by Manson, and she allegedly responded, "No, this did not happen to me, but this was not my experience." So it's like, okay, how would you like to tell your story? Would you like to have access to the swastika knife? And do you think of maybe a fist across the face? No, in the mouth. In the mouth sounds better. Write that down. Ugh. However, she claims Wood, 35, sorry, don't want to undersell it, told her that just because she could not remember those things did not necessarily mean that it did not happen. Good enough reason to file a lawsuit, alleging it was possible she had repressed memories due to her alleged trauma. I hate everybody. I hate them all. Well, at first I knew Mr. Warner did not do any of those things to me. Eventually, I began to question whether he actually did, Smithline says. I was asked whether I was repressing memories or just got through day-to-day life, and whether it was easier just to not think about what actually happened then accept reality. They also said it was important for people to come forward so that no one else gets hurt, and that you guys could make out like bandits off of the back of a really nefarious lawsuit. Holy. Manson's attorney, Howard King, tells Page Six that Smithline contacted him and his own team of her own volition last week and has apologized to the singer. What do you do with that apology, other than just hang up on her halfway through? She was a reluctant participant in Wood's alleged scheme from the get-go, the lawyer says, noting that Smithline told him she never had any financial motivation for allegedly lying about Manson. Are you kidding me? She already got all the clout, and it really wasn't going to be going anywhere. She wasn't going to be able to refile her lawsuit, so it's like, just, lol, I lied. And I'll apologize to him and see if I can just, get my old groupie spot back. King also points out attorney who represented Smithline in a lawsuit against Manson, Jill Ellwanger, was allegedly given to her by Esme Bianco, who had her own sexual assault suit against the Beautiful People singer. Okay. Ellwanger wrote the complaint without talking to Smithline about the factual allegations and they filed it. They wore her down to the point where she went on The View and spoke with People magazine. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all whatsoever. She's just the first person to get off the sinking ship. Doesn't make her any less culpable for driving straight into the iceberg, though. Ellwanger tells Page Six that his response is constrained by ethical obligations regarding client confidentiality, even to a former client, but adds the specific allegations we described are categorically and verifiably false. But remember, guys, where's that People magazine cover? Okay, we'll just go back to it for a second. I survived a monster. Ashley Morgan Smithline says the rock star abused and tortured her for 2 years, and now she and others, including Evan Rachel Wood, are speaking out. Breaking free from Marilyn Manson. # believe all women until the gravy train derails next to a small village at a flyover state. The shit is going to continue to happen over and over again as these broads with just zero talent continue to age out of the pool, because that's what this is, man. Even going back to Ellen Barkin, when she wasn't getting the roles like she used to just for being a piece of ass on the screen, then all of a sudden she started to become an advocate for sexual violence. Sound familiar? Amber Heard, oh my god, my sugar daddy that I'm married to, he no longer has money like that. Oh, let me just make some horrible allegations on his name in order to secure the bag long term. Marilyn Manson tearing through new groupie snatch. Oh my god. Well, she gets kicked out of rotation. Oh, I survived a monster. I need to go out there and I need to tell my truth. Till a point in time comes where you can just flip to the other side and then just try to come out on the right side of this. Because, yeah, you're 38. Now all of a sudden you can play the victim card one more time off of this one story. Help me. I was a victim. I was victimized by Marilyn Manson. And now help me. I was victimed. or yeah, I was victimized by the accusers who were saying that Marilyn's a victim, even though I've never received any of that victimization. In fact, they tried to coach everybody in the room. She's just trying to get hers. But you know what? Who ends up suffering off of all of this? Marilyn Manson, the guy who's being used as a pawn in this situation. Yo, man, something's got to be done with all of these false accusations, these verifiably false accusations. Some bitches need to start going to prison, man, paying restitution, something like that, because this stuff, man, we're not even close to hitting peak believe all women. I thought we were going to with Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, but clearly that's not the case. And especially with this new grift coming out, oh, there's a bunch of accusers. Ooh, who's the first one that's going to flip? That's going to become the new game. Where balloons from there? No goddamn idea. But the quest for attention and victimhood for these modern day women is never going to cease. Always just going to flip reverse and just change and move off into different directions. See how many people that they can just, take down in their wake. That's why you have to 100% be good with women. Know and vet the girls that you keep around with you. Otherwise, you'll get drug through the ringer by a piece of pussy you smashed and dashed over a 2-year stint. A 2-year stint turns into a decade of headaches. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.